This is design.
Hello friends, thanks for joining me again today. I am working on hopefully finishing a painting that I started 2 days ago. I had hoped to finish it yesterday, but life didn't work out that way. So the good news is everything here is dry. Even some fairly fat and pesto stuff right up here. See this right here? Palette knife, pretty thick. It's leather hard is the term. It's not completely dry, but it's dry to the touch. And the only reason it's even that dry is, for those of you who are new, is because of course it's titanium white alkyd, ALKYD. It's a fast drying oil paint. If that were regular titanium, it's got a little bit of yellow ochre in it. Tiny bit, but if that were regular, that would be completely wet for 2 weeks, maybe 3 or 4. Okay, so that's right. Okay, kids, you're gonna have to cooperate with me here. I have company in my studio, as you can tell, and they've been instructed that I've got work to do, but they don't always get those instructions right. Oh, you did they? Excuse me. And if this doesn't work, then we'll let you move on to a different room, okay? Okay, there you are. Okay, then no more naked boo, okay? That's all I can do. Okay. I've got a budding artist over here trying to learn how to play with Photoshop. Okay. Whoa. Let me fix some things here. So I'm upstairs in my studio, as you can see. Been a while since I was here. This is where I escape when I have a house full of grandchildren. And of course, they like to escape up here with me, so thereby nullifying the point. Okay, back to painting. So, almost every time when I have the opportunity to tackle a painting on a second or third day, as long as everything on there is dry, and what I do is glaze the entire canvas, the entire painting again. Glaze. When I say glaze, you think perfectly transparent, like cellophane or a stained glass window, like colored glass. I say that because evidently, according to many of my students, I say glaze and their eyes glaze over. If you don't know what that means. That's all right. But now you do know. It means perfectly transparent like glass or cellophane, right? Like colored saran wrap. That's a glaze. Now, your next good question would be, why? And I harped on this a whole bunch the other day when I was, 2 days ago, Tuesday, when I was out painting. This is the Capitol building of North Carolina. You can go back and watch. It's my last episode, Daily Art Adventure 420. Painting the Capitol again. Anyway, as I said many times, anytime you ask an artist, a good artist, why did you do that? There should be one answer that is correct all the time. Thanks, Lakey Poo. You can come back later when you want to have fun and be quiet, okay? Okay, love you. One answer fits all. Why are you doing that? The answer is, forgive me, let me close this door. The answer is because it looks cool, or because I think it's going to look cool. So that's the real answer to every question. Why'd you do that? Because I think it's going to look cool. Okay? Now, hopefully, a good artist can give a little bit more of an explanation than simply that. And I don't want to go into it because I answered this question so many times that I get tired of it. By putting a glaze over the entire canvas, I have turned all of my opaque bits, there weren't very many, but such as they were, I've turned all my opaque bits of paint now into transparent. In other words, I've put a transparent, evidently I haven't used this easel in a while, and I forget how. Okay, tell you what, look at this. I just got a big, it just fell on my palette. So forgive me. This is gonna take a while. You don't need to watch. I'm gonna clean up. Hopefully I'm not gonna cuss. Yeah. And I'm gonna clean up. So forgive me, I'll be back in just a minute. Honestly, just 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Thank you, Nicholas Bravo. I missed your comment earlier. Appreciate that. I think it's got the potential of being a good painting, so I'm excited about it. Okay, I was answering the question, why do you put a glaze over the entire thing? The answer is because transparent colors, and I'm going to be pretty adamant about this, and some of you junior boy painters, girl painters want to argue with me. That was really mean, wasn't it? I get a lot of comments from people that aren't very good, and that's all right. That's all right. And I hope maybe I have comments from people that are better than me, but usually not. Let me try to. I'm going to make an audacious statement because I believe it. Transparent colors are always prettier than opaque colors. If you can file that away, this will be a day well spent. If this is the first time you've heard this. Transparent colors, I use the word prettier. I'm using an intentionally not intellectual term, lowbrow term. Transparent colors are prettier than opaque colors. And again, I hear voices coming back, arguing with me, saying things, especially if they have a little bit of art education. They say, says who? Right, that kind of stuff. Well, this is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of science. Let me use more precise terminology. Okay, I'm not going to say prettier. Here's what I'm going to say. Transparent colors are more complex. Now I'm talking like in scientific terms. Transparent colors are far more complex than opaque colors. And I've talked about this so many times that I don't even want to get into it. An opaque color is a single bounce. Transparent color is 1, 2, 3 bounces plus transfusion plus one other thing that I'm forgetting. I've got it written down somewhere. It's like a 6-step. A transparent color is a 6-step process. Boom, 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 boom. Maybe it's 5. Whereas an opaque color is a 1-step bounce, and we're done. Okay, now so does that mean your painting ought to be 100% transparent colors? The answer is no. Because the principle of it ought to be a combination of transparent and opaque. Why? Because the principle of variety trumps the principle of transparency. In other transparency, variety trumps almost everything. Variety in a painting is one of the highest universal values that you can do in the world of painting. various colors, various shapes, various line hardness, various values, various very varied. Everything in painting should be varied. So the best paintings have both opaque and transparent colors, but the transparent colors are the ones that create the highest degree of interest. So in my opinion, this is my opinion, paintings should have more transparent colors than opaque colors. That's a matter of opinion. You can argue with me about that one. I won't even argue back. Yep, that's just my opinion. It's a good one. Anyway, so I just made this painting. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I just made it more interesting simply by applying a glaze, a couple different colors. I did basically oxide red, which is an orange brown, like burnt sienna, over the whole thing. Then I did some blue up here, blue and purple here, blue and purple here. And I think that's all I did. Okay. I took this painting, my monthly painters forum here in Raleigh, Cary, North Carolina, happens on the second Tuesday of every month, which was 2 nights ago. So I had the delightful privilege of taking this very unfinished painting to my fellow artists, my peers, and getting their feedback. And their feedback was, in fact, to me, surprisingly positive. They liked it even more than I did. I liked it better than I thought I would, than I thought I did. So I take that very seriously. But it puts pressure on me because now I don't want to ruin it. Now that I think it might be a good painting, it's like, oh, now I have pressure. And I will be here for a while. This is a 30 by 40 inch painting. I was out painting about 6 hours, I think it was, the other day, maybe 7, and then packed up and moved on to other things, had other responsibilities. So I think it's probably typical. I can paint faster, but I don't like to. I would think probably at 30 by 40, giving myself about 8 hours to finish a painting, literally 8 hours of painting, is about right for 30 by 40. One of the questions I had with my painters group the other night was about this green area behind these trees, and I wasn't entirely comfortable, and a couple of them said, yeah, it could be a little lighter. And I agree. That was a good word. I agreed with them. If you don't have a group of artists that you get together with, then I feel sorry for you. I think you ought to start one. You ought to start a group. We get together once a month. I could stand to do it more often than that, but we've been doing that for over 10 years. And there's nothing, and it's a pure critique. Everybody's welcome to say anything about everybody's work. And most of us are good friends by now. We have new people coming in, periodically, and that's good. But one of the best things about a peer review critique group is when somebody in the group says something and your light bulb comes on, you go, bingo, that's it. They're talking about your painting, Several people will say things and you go, you smile, see. Inside you say, thank you, but nah, that ain't it. But when somebody says something that's a light bulb comes on, you go, oh man, that's exactly right. So that's sort of what I'm doing right here. I am responding to the good criticism that I got the other night with regard to this area, which was simply make it a little bit lighter. So, yes, that's exactly what I need to do. Let me tell you a little bit more about what happened the other night. I experienced this, I don't know what to call it. It's almost a syndrome. Peer review syndrome. Here it is. Here's the syndrome. We all of us artists, we all are more ready, willing, and anxious for the other guy, gal, for the other artist to stop early, whereas we ourselves aren't quite so willing. So that's exactly what I got. I put this up and I said, well, I'm not finished. And most of the room went, oh, no, don't do anything. You are finished. And I went, no, I'm really not. And then as we talked a little while, they relented and said, okay, I can see that. Like there's 2 lampposts over here and so on and so forth. There were a number of things that aren't finished. But it was pretty funny because I was getting exactly, I've talked about it on my broadcast many times over the years. I was getting exactly what you get from your fellow peers, from your fellow artists. We are all more willing for the other guy to stop than we are willing to stop ourselves. We all can see the beauty in the abstracted, unfinished state of one another's paintings more than we're willing to see the beauty of the abstracted, unfinished state of our own painting. Does that make sense? When somebody puts up a painting, we go, oh no, don't finish, don't, you're done. And the artist goes, no, I need to finish this part. And then we switch roles. That artist sits down, the other one gets up, and the same thing happens. It's really funny. It's just universal. But the good news is, because of their feedback, I am willing to leave this area a lot more abstract than I would have normally. Because I said, well, I need to finish this wall. And I got a chorus of responses back saying, no. Now, I don't tell them, but I am going to touch it up slightly. But I am going to touch it up less than I would have if I hadn't gotten their feedback. Does that make sense? So it's like I had to look at that again through fresh eyes and go, wow, okay, I guess. They really liked the messy, abstract, unfinished look of the painting quite intensely. So I take their feedback seriously. I do. Now I am going to touch it up a tiny bit, but not as much as I would have, probably, if I hadn't received their feedback. We talked about, for instance, we also talked about, I said, well, all these windows over here, these windows, I did the mullions, the dividers, those lines. Over here, I did very little, and they were really worried that I was going to overdo it over here. Well, the good news is I'm worried about overdoing it too, especially now that I got their feedback. But I am, as you see me right now, finishing these windows somewhat. In this case, mostly by painting the reflection and negative painting the mullions, those dividers in a window, those wooden bars that make the tic-tac-toe shape in a window. Those are called mullions. M-U-L-L-I-O-N-S. So I am painting, I'm not painting them, I'm painting around them. Okay, that's probably enough jabbering about that particular subject. I talked quite a bit the other day, and you can go back and watch it if you want. I talked quite a bit about anytime you have a highly repetitious motif, that is a mark or a shape that's repeated, and in this case it's the mullions. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in every window. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 times 5. So there's 60 mullions. They all look essentially the same. You know, they're all wooden, white colored boards dividing up these windows. Anytime you have a highly repetitious motif is the word, you want to come up with many different techniques for achieving, reflecting, indicating that highly repetitive mark or image. So that is what I did. I used 4 or 5 different techniques for rendering these mullions. I won't go over them, but I'm doing a similar thing over here, using many different techniques to reflect, to indicate, to give the impression of windows with dividers in them. Does that make sense? Okay, hope it does. And I think that's enough of that. That is enough of the blue-green reflection. Here's what I want to do. I want to tackle this wall right now, and I know you're getting bad reflection. Let me see if I can do anything about that. There, that's a little better. Okay, so this is the wall that my fellow painters the other night said, no, don't touch it. Well, don't tell them I'm going to touch it. I am. I'm the artist here. I have judgment, but I am going to put the brakes on. I am going to hold back quite a bit from what I would have done if I hadn't got their feedback. So, and I think if their feedback was good. Part of what's bothering me, if you will, in this wall, I'll aim at this part up here, is I love, and they did too, these abstract blue, purple streaks, red, and so on. And I like it too. There's a line right here that's a pencil line, and I like it. In my opinion, there's just a little bit too much of it, okay? So I'm mixing up now a very dull mid-tone. Like, here's one drip right here that I don't like. I want to make this this color a little bit lighter. Okay, so it's what I've mixed up is a very dull, and this purple mark right here. It's like, okay, but there's just a little bit too much of it. So I'm going to diminish it. Now here's a key concept and a hard one for students to get a hold of. You don't get mad at things and obliterate them like in a fit of rage. No rage necessary. So, but some of those lines are a little bit hard. There we go. So actually, the purple mark is still there. I've simply pushed it back just a little bit. Same thing with this big blue blob. I like it. That my friends the other night, they loved it. Said no. But I'm going, that's a little bit much. So I've just mixed up I picked up a clean brush actually, and I'm scumbling in very translucent. You have to have your language straight now. You're transparent, clear like glass, translucent like a frosted light bulb. Okay, so that blue mark that they liked is still there. You can see it, right? You can still see all those streaks. I just pushed it back a little bit, and I'm happy with that. So I actually did 2 different things. With the purple mark, I didn't do translucent over it. I did opaque and just carved it down a little bit. The blue mark here, I did translucent, so I just pushed it back. And then right now at this moment, I'm doing a couple lighter marks. Okay? So to me, in my opinion, this area is better. It reads a little more like a flat wall. It's still got, I feel like, all that interest that my friends the other night liked so much when they said, no, don't touch it. Well, as I said, I am touching it, but I'm touching it very cautiously, very reservedly. And there's a big pencil line right here. Now, most of the time, these kinds of purely abstract marks, I'm quite happy with. But this one, not so much. It's a little bit too much. So again, you could still see it. I haven't obliterated. I haven't got angry and erased it. I just touched out little bits here and there. I hope that's making sense to you. Students, well, here we're getting into a bigger subject, completely larger subject. But let me go here for a minute. Most human beings, and I can identify with this feeling very much, most human beings struggle more with feelings of inadequacy and incompetence and unintelligence. You know, most of us struggle with, you know, oh man, I'm not that good. I'm kind of dumb. I'm not that good. I'm not good of an artist. And don't tell me that that's not true, because I hear it every month at our painters group. Most of them, not all. There's some very competent painters in our group. Hallelujah. And we love everybody who comes, honestly. But, you know, the ones who are beginners, and they'll usually badmouth themselves and say, oh, well, you know, I'm not very good at this, and this isn't very good, and I'm not, you know, I'm not very good at blah, blah, blah. Do you hear the tone of voice? Do you understand? You probably recognize it from your own tone of voice. Okay. You want to be a good artist? Eliminate that crappy, negative self-talk. Just eliminate. Stop it. Stop. Stop saying that tone. Not very good. Not very good. I'm exaggerating just to make the point. Stop that. That does not make you a good painter. Now, we all, you know, I empathize with the feeling. I feel like we all struggle with that, except for a few really weird megalomaniacs that are just, ugh. But anyway, that's hardly anybody is one of those. Most of us struggle. In fact, sometimes the ones who brag the most, they are the most boastful because they, in fact, struggle with feelings of inadequacy the most. And you mature people, you know that I'm telling you the truth. Okay, so here's why especially that bad self-talk is so damaging when you're trying to paint. Because if there's a black pencil line across the wall, and you have this, I'm going to call it this spirit. I'm using the word language, colorful language. You have this woe is me, I'm an idiot spirit on you. Then when you see that line, you go, see, I told you, that's a stupid line. I wish I hadn't put line. I'm such a bad painter. And then you pick up paint and you go, and you wipe it out, and that everything was dandy until you went, okay? But it's because that you're painting out of the wrong center of your being. You're painting out of the wrong part of your soul, if I can use that word. Okay, I'm not trying to be all religious or spooky here, but if I, you know, just using the classic language, you're painting out of the wrong part of your being. You don't paint out of the grumpy, woe is me, I'm such an idiot part of your being. Well, if you do, you paint poorly. Okay, so there, that felt good to get that out. I feel better. How about you? I look forward to seeing. I can't see your chats at all right now. I'm sorry. So I look forward to going back and see if anybody's responding. Usually, when I get off on a tear like this, I get several comments like that. You know, that's me. That is me. I don't know. I know it's you. I know it's us. That's part of the human condition. Is that part of maturity is growing up out of that. That. Woe is me, I am a worm and not a man. Or a woe man. So that woe is me impulse really ruins your painting intuition. So no, you have to have a certain degree of, dang, I'm good. This is fun. At least, dang, I'm getting better. Okay? You have to have, I think, in my opinion, a generous dose of that in order to be a good painter. You know, frankly, I've never said this publicly. Let me say it now. This is, frankly, I am glad. So I've been an artist off and on my whole adult life. Mostly a freelance illustrator, making money as an artist. Got it? I have been a fine arts oil painter for the last 18, 19 years. Hang on. I've been painting more or less in this colorful acrylic underneath and oil on top since 2004. That's a story, I won't go into it, but it was a real hard right turn in my career. It's like overnight I switched the way I paint. Quite literally, okay? I was, if you will, under the tutelage of a very highly respected gallery owner. That's all I'm going to say. And she said, you have a lot of talent, but it's not going to sell. You need something that pops. So that kind of irritated me, because the stuff I showed her was beautiful. But she said it needs to pop. So I went home with a bit of an attitude, said, I'll show you pop. You want to see pop? I'm exaggerating. She said, I'll show you something. I went home honestly going, wow, I wonder what that means. So let me try this. Anyway, so this technique came out of my previous experience, of course. Anyway, the point I want to say is I've been painting more or less in this journey, this approach to painting, for 14 years. Got it? And that's the background. Here's what I want to say. I am very glad that I didn't know 7, 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, I've been in this path for 6 years already, and I was selling in galleries. I'm glad I didn't know how bad I was. Was I bad? No, I wasn't bad. I was making a living as an artist, selling paintings in galleries. But some of you, you need to hear this. Because now I look back at, and I have several of those paintings in my garage, so to speak, in my attic, in storage. I have several paintings from that era, and most of them will never be sold. Most of them will never be given away. Some of them will be painted over. Some of them I keep just to keep myself humble, because almost all of them I look at and go, oh, man. Now, let me be real honest and fair to myself. I did a number of paintings back there. I look at them and go, huh, not bad. That's a nice painting. But I'm sort of saying it like a mature painter to an immature painter. Now, and as much as this hurts, listen to me. So now I'm 64 years old. I should be a mature painter, right? So help me. When I'm 70, if I don't look back at what I'm doing today with a little bit of, that means I haven't grown very much. And as much as I hate to think about it, that this is not very good, in 6 years, I hope I feel like this isn't very good. Are you with me? But what I really want to say is, but you don't beat yourself up. You don't beat yourself up and say, oh, I'm not any good, I'm not any good. You have to have a little bit of a swagger. You have to have a guy, no, come on, I know what I'm doing. I had that swagger 6 years ago. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to make a living. And some of my paintings were pretty good. I'm almost being disingenuous. Some of them were really good, but they're not as good as what I do now. Are you with me? And I certainly hope that in 7 years I feel the same way about the stuff that I'm doing, about this very painting right here. I hope I feel the same way, because the alternative is I didn't grow. Hey, while I'm talking about, here's a funny, I don't know what to do about this. One of my favorite living artists in the whole world, and he's just ridiculously good, is Richard Schmid. One of my favorites. But he has, at least one time I looked at his website, he had it divided by decades. 70s, 80s, 90s, 1000s, 2010s. Right? He's 80 something now, I think. I love his stuff. But you know what was astounding to me? The stuff that he did in his 70s was virtually identical, to my eye, identical to the stuff that he's doing today. Wow. Now that, I guess maybe if you're so dang good that you don't need to improve, that just doesn't make sense, does it? Anyway, he's still one of my favorite artists, but that is, honestly, that's a little mystery to me. It's like, wow, his stuff that he did 40 years ago, it looks to me, now probably the reality is he could point out, stuff from 40 years ago that wasn't as good as what he's doing. That's probably the truth. But I'm a fairly good artist, and I can't see any difference. I do think, by the way, his growth curve has been much flatter than mine. I might not be a very good painter, but doggone it, my growth curve is pretty steep, and I feel like that's true. And as you know, I'm being a little tiny bit disingenuous when I say I may not be a very good painter. And there's people better than me for sure. It irritates the fire in me because I want to know what they know. Okay, now I've commenced to just rambling. But while I've been rambling, you see what I've done to this wall, and I'm just about finished. Just about finished. I'm responding in every area of the wall. I'm responding very much to what's already there. I'm not introducing, wild and crazy new colors to the palette, to that part of the painting. I'm responding very much to what's already there. And that's a good principle. That's mostly what I do in this final phase. Like right now I've got an orange. It's just a little bit more intense. There's already an orange there. I'm just pumping it up a little bit. Hey, I've been pretty humble for the last several minutes, so enough of that. Let's go back to being proud again. I hope I jest. I hope I'm being funny. But let me tell you, again, I feel like I am extremely blessed as an artist. Just like, I'll say it, God has blessed me beyond what I deserve, or the cosmos, or whatever, okay? I'll use the word God without hesitation, but I don't want to freak anybody out. And why I'm blessed is that I accidentally, there's a story behind it, I've given it before, I won't give it now, how I accidentally stumbled into this technique of acrylics, a particular kind of acrylics underneath, transparent, and oils on top. And the one thing that I feel like this does for me, and last night I was sitting down, I picked up Plein magazine, and I was flipping through it. Yep. Beautiful stuff. I mean, jaw-droppingly gorgeous stuff. Stuff that I envy. But the one thing that I don't envy is that my approach to painting creates midtones like nobody else's. That's a bold statement, but I'm going to stick with it. My approach to painting creates this wall that's midtone. Everybody does highlights the same. Most people do dark tones the same. What sets my particular approach to painting apart is the midtones. Look at the texture and the color in that wall. And I mean, the objective part of my brain goes, dang, whoever did that wall really knows how to paint. They know what they're doing. And yeah, it was me. I know what I'm doing because I accidentally stumbled on a technique that I think is fantastic. So just a sure invitation to those of you who want to, imitate my technique. I say, go for it, man. I didn't invent it. I did. I mean, nobody, you know what I mean? But it fell into my lap. God, the cosmos, or something dumped this into my lap quite by accident. And so I invite everybody else who wants to give it a whirl, man. Just come on, give it a try. Because I think it's a fantastic approach to painting. If you're new to my channel, what are you saying? Well, what are you talking about? And the answer is the way that I paint. So if you didn't catch the beginning, you'll have to come back and watch it another time. But it is the midtones. That's what nobody else has. When I say nobody, what I mean is nobody that I know of, nobody that I see. When I pick up a national magazine, okay, whoops. Then the question should be, well, then how come you're not so famous? Maybe you're not as good as you think you are. Now, listen, I'm a human being. I don't need any help being insecure. I have plenty of insecurities. Are you with me? The new medium ad made more possible. That's exactly, David. It did indeed. I just picked up a really worn out old soft brush, but I think it'll still work. And I'm going to mix up some dark stuff My most common go-to dark color is oxide red and ultramarine blue. Those two make it nearly black. Chromatic black, some people call it. That is black made out of colors. Any transparent colors, if they're transparent, added to each other, makes the combination darker. There's some windows in here that need just a little bit of definition. Not too much, just a little bit. So again, essentially I'm drawing mullions, those dividers, drawing mullions by negative painting, by painting the dark around them. Okay? Okay, so there you go. There's a little braggadocious commercial for what I do like about my painting technique is what it creates in the midtones. And it's because of my accidental technique that I stumbled on in 2004, which is what you see me doing every day, the layers of transparent acrylic underneath oil. Okay. I'm gonna leave that for a while. Now, that wall essentially finished, I think. As soon as I say that, I go, oh no, wait a minute. Isn't that the way it goes? As soon as you say, I think that part's finished, you go, oh, whoa, wait, no, okay. You have to guard against that impulse because it's so easy to overdo it, so easy to put down just one too many brush strokes, and you're over. One toke's over the line, sweet Jesus. One stroke over the line. So that's what they were saying. They were a bunch of artists. I never knew that's what that song meant. One stroke over the line. Doobie Brothers, right? My age is showing. I'm doing the same thing now, but come around to this side of the building, background to this side of the building. And again, rendering those mullions, not by painting them, but in fact by painting between them, painting the window panes. It dawned on me just a second ago that these windows right here are too light, too bright. So I'm coming in with some dark stuff. Yeah. No, this window hasn't gotten any attention at all yet, so. Likewise, this window. And it has some foliage in front of it, so I definitely don't need to get too detailed with that one. Okay, now I'm going to put that brush down. And these brushes have sort of a rust orange on them. I'll save those for later. Pick up a clean brush. Of course, in my case, the one downside of painting with two hands is you go through, if you will, you go through twice as many brushes as normal, because no matter what color I'm going to be painting, I have to mix up two brushes to apply that color. I truly can't stand painting with one hand anymore. I get jittery. I go through withdrawal. for a little palette knife. Now again, here's where my friends the other night, they got rightfully nervous when I said, well, I'm going to put mullions in these windows. I was pointing to these windows over here. And they went, I don't know. And their impulse, I'm saying, their reaction, their instinct was, in my opinion, especially when I heard it and heard the intensity of their reaction, I went, no, their instinct is correct. So I don't want to overdo it. That's what I'm trying to say here. But this window is catching the most light, so it just completely makes sense that the white painted mullions in this window more than any of the others, this window has got to have some light hitting. Yeah. And again, there's a stick, a branch going in front of that, so it's not all nice and neat. Then a little bit, less here, and less here. But just a little bit again. Whew. I hope not to do too much. It'd be so easy to overdo this. I'm hoping if you're an art student that you're noticing. Let me zoom in a little bit here for you. The danger, somebody needs to yell at me, say, you forgot to zoom out. When I zoom in like this, then I forget to zoom out when I move somewhere else. But I'm hoping you're noticing that I'm painting shapes that are very long and skinny, right? These mullions, they're skinny, long and skinny marks. And will you please notice that I am not using long, skinny strokes to render those long, skinny. In other words, I'm not taking my brush, sticking out my tongue, and going, right? Right. Take note. Don't do that. In fact, here's a general rule. Can be broken. Every rule can be broken. That doesn't mean it's not a rule. Here's a general rule that when you're painting a long, skinny shape in a painting, a tree branch, a mullion in a window, a flagpole, a light pole, long, skinny things, do not allow your hand, the one that's holding the brush. Let's imagine we're painting this lamppost right here, right? And back out a little bit. Let's imagine you're going to paint. Here's what you must not do, generally speaking. You do not allow your hand to move consonant with that long, skinny shape. In other words, you don't pick up a load full of brush, generally, and go, and you say, well, what do you mean? I mean what I said. Don't do that. If you got a long, skinny thing, you don't make a long, skinny stroke. Well, then what do? You make short strokes, connected, jittery. Now, of course, this is not if you're doing architectural renderings for your local architect. That's a different world. One that I live in periodically. That's a different story. There, we're not trying to create so much a thing of beauty as a sales piece. But here in the world of good painting, you paint long, skinny things by, in fact, making your hand move perpendicular to the orientation of the long, skinny shape. Whew. There you go. For some of you, that was worth your price of admission right there. Just that. Every rule can be broken, but you better know the rule, otherwise you're probably just screwing up. Okay, that's essentially the subtitle of my book, which is going to be called The Breakable Laws of Painting. Of course, every law can be broken. It doesn't mean there aren't any laws. If you think there aren't any laws, either you're just playing word games, and you are like some famous painters, teachers do this. They say there's no laws, and if they're good painters, it's a matter of semantics. They know the laws so well. But what normally people say is, there's no laws. You give me any law and I can show you a painting that breaks it. And I go, correct. You didn't prove there's no law. You just proved that every law can be wisely and carefully and skillfully broken. That's what you proved. That's why the name of the book is The Breakable Laws of Painting. So I just gave you one. Long, skinny, sharp shape. Don't move your hand. In sync, consonant with the long, skinny shape. Make your hand move this way to render that long, skinny shape. Tree branches, etc., etc., etc. Okay, I'm nearly finished. I'm nearly in danger, aren't I, of overdoing the mullions on this side of the building. Lord, help me not to go too far. So the further I get away from this window, to be exact, the more jitter, the more iterative start stop there is to all these lines. The more messy they become, the fewer of them. See, this is the one window has the most. That's better now. Has the most regular mullions in it. As we get further away from that, they get more and more irregular and so forth. They fade out, right? Simple. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a while. I may not be done. I say I'm going to stop and then I come back and do one more. I may not be done, but I'm done for a while. It's a good idea not to get so consumed in any one thing, because you start to lose your judgment. You go blind after a while. So I'm going to leave the building completely. I need to do this real soon, but I think I'll leave it for now. Let me resolve some other issues. One of the big ones is this dome, and I'm sorry you're getting a terrible glare here. There you go. I can't paint with it that way. I don't know. But this verdigris, copper turned green dome up here needs some real work. But I need a little bit of a break. So thank you guys for watching. This is going really long. I'm going to stop right here and be back in just a few minutes. Thanks for watching. Hello, Nicholas. I'm sorry I missed that comment earlier. And Nicholas saying earlier that he felt like my windows were too dominant, too prominent, and distracting from the building. And let me say, Nicholas, that may be exactly correct. So thank you for your input. I'm going to give it serious consideration. Such serious consideration, I'm going to go ahead and mess up a little bit right now. Some of this is dry, so I can't do anything with it, but some of it is still wet. So simply messing it up. Not that window, maybe that one. I have here a photograph. I just went and got it. Just put it down a minute ago. Here it is. You are correct that the mullions are not as prominent in the photograph as I've made them in my painting. So All right, that does give me pause. There's not much I can do about that over here. Let me continue. I will revisit that later. I'm not going to do everything everybody says just because they say it, but sometimes a comment makes me see with new eyes. Okay, here's a photograph. You can see, by the way, how much manipulation I had to do. I removed all of this foliage right here, so that I could see the top of the building, which is lost in glare for you guys. I just moved the painting up because what I want to work on next is these bushes, sidewalks, and grass down here in the foreground. 2 lampposts, and then I've added some people walking. So the first thing I want to do is do another layer of glaze of sorts. Glazing of sorts. Not glazing, of course. Glazing of a sort of glazing. Down here, mixing up the reason it's not a pure glaze is it's not purely transparent. It's a little bit translucent because it's got a bright yellow in it. Okay. Now that I've got some of that mixed up, do I want it anywhere else? Maybe. Maybe. Okay, good enough for now. Now, fairly large brushes. Got an awful lot of brushes in the works now. Maybe I better take one of those. Wipe it off with the tissue. And mix up the mid-tone green, not too intense, not too dark, very definitely mid-tone. Come in! Somebody knocking at my door. Hello, Tolly girl. Okay, using a little phthalo blue and Indian yellow. A little more blue, a little more yellow. Now some white. This is opaque colors, by the way. I'm adding white to this. It's supposed. What I'm doing, mixing up, is going to go on top of these dark blobs. Blobs, they are indeed. To make them look a little bit more like bushes. But the first layer, we got ultramarine, oxide red. I'm mixing all kinds of things, just following my nose, so to speak, following my eyes. It's more precise. Light, of course, clearly coming from this side. Most of this green, so I've called it opaque. If I applied it thickly enough, it would be an opaque green, but I'm going to apply most of it rather thinly. Stumbling is a word for this. Opaque paint, opaque color applied thinly. Scumbling. Yeah, this bush right in reality is just one solid round bush, but for some reason it's been cloven in two in my painting at this point. So I have to decide, do I want to keep it cloven, do I want to split I think I do. I think it's slightly more interesting than just one solid blob. Then there's this whole hedge, if you will, of bush along here. Now, let me make a comment while I'm still working in this one color. This would be a horrible mistake. Horrible, I tell you. It would be a horrible mistake to consider these bushes finished. The main reason is quite simple. It's like a principle that you can watch out for. And that is, I mixed up one color of green, right? Can you see it here? Oh yeah, you can. Way down there. See, that's the green I'm using. So I mixed up one color of green, and I had just gone through the process of slapping that green down over a wide area of the painting, right? That's your first clue that something is amiss. Something is not good. What I mean is simply the fact that I mixed up one color, any color, and used it profusely, spread it across any broad or extended area of the painting is a violation of a very simple rule. Not sure what the rule is called, but the rule is you don't do that. The rule is, I need to come up with a name for that rule. I don't have one. The rule is you don't take one color and use it in a whole bunch of places. You start out that way, so I'm going to fix it in just a minute. But if I didn't fix it, it would be a visual disaster, shall we say. I'm still using it though, so I'm not done using it yet. So I'll be done in just a few minutes. And again, most of what I'm applying is distinctly translucent. That is, you can see through it. Okay, now let's fix it. The fix is, and let me bring you back to look at my palette while I mix this up. The fix is I now need to mix up this color green that is slightly lighter. So that's what you just saw me do, just a little bit of titanium. Now I think that it's going to look better actually with a little bit of yellow in it. So it's not just lighter green, but it's lighter and warmer as if the sun is hitting it. Okay? So now, when I come back to my painting, where am I going to put this slightly lighter green? The answer is mostly on the sunward side of all the marks that I put down just a few minutes ago. Or more precisely, I'm going to put them on top of the green that I just put there a few minutes ago. But especially the upper left side of the green marks. Does that make sense? And I'm going to do this more than once. That is to say that the slightly lighter, I'm going to make this color lighter and yellower again and do the same thing at least one more time after this, possibly two, possibly even three. So the breakable law in being acted upon right now is human beings don't like seeing dark paint on top of light, but we love seeing light paint on top of dark, and especially if it's subtle. If the light that I'm doing right now is just slightly lighter than what I did a few minutes ago, our eyes particularly get a kick out of that. In fact, that brings up a good teaching point. I don't say very often that one of the mistakes I used to make in my previous life, early life as a painter, one of the mistakes I would make is in rendering foliage. By the way, this is too green. I need to correct that. I'm going to add some oxide red to this to make it less green. I don't have to undo what I've already done, but I do need to. I don't want to proceed with that high chroma, a little bit too high chroma green there, so I've just browned it down a little bit. One of the mistakes I used to make in my early oil painting, scenic paintings, when I did foliage, I would make the contrast between sun and shade part of the foliage, trees for instance. I would make the contrast too extreme. It should have been more subtle. In fact, I almost feel like that's what I'm doing right here. I need to darken this green down a little bit. It's a little bit too bright. I don't have to undo what I've done, but I don't want to continue with something quite that bright.
Hi, Pika.
Hey, sweet girl.
Hi, Pika.
Hi, other sweet girl. Those are my daughters. I mean, my those are not my daughters. Those are my granddaughters, Lake and Tolly, up here to keep me company, no doubt, while I paint.
Can I get in the picture?
Okay. They want to get in the picture, so hang on just a second. Here we go. Get ready to say hi. There's Lake.
Hi.
There's Lake.
Hi.
And there's Tolly. And they come up and like to do artwork in my office. Okay, good job, girls.
And I made a picture for you, Pika.
Okay, but I can't look at it right now, sweetie pie.
Okay.
I'll look at it later, okay?
I'm gonna bring you over.
She made a picture for me. I get lots of pictures made for me. Let it.
I'm gonna cut it. Put it on the wall.
Okay, I'm gonna mix up a lighter
Cut the tape.
version of that I just did, and a little bit of yellow ochre in it to warm it up. Of course, I don't want to start painting a whole bunch of leafy things or leafy shapes. That would be counter to the style of painting that I'm trying to achieve here. Abstract realism is my favorite description of this approach to painting. Let me stand back and look at this for a second. Yeah, I think I'm okay. It's very possible that on this particular painting, I may come back another day, yet another day, and do glazes, in particular on top of this green. It's a little too green for me. Green is a very dangerous color. I say that so often, and I may have slipped into the pit of danger green. It's a dangerous color because our eyes are so sensitive to it. It jumps out at us. All green, even though I'm trying to paint with a very dull green, it's still, when I get it on the canvas, it's like, wow, that still looks pretty chroma-ish, chromatic, pretty pungent, pretty intense. I think I'm okay, but I'm close to too green for that. But a glazing, a purple or an orange on top of is one of the best ways to back off with a green color. You okay? You okay? we had a little fall off the chair. So. Oops. Are you hurt, sweetie pie? Are you okay?
I put my elbow.
Oh, you did indeed. Oh my goodness. You did indeed. You scraped it, didn't you? Ooh. Oh, bless your heart. Do you want to go downstairs to Mama for a little while? Or do you want to stay here? Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie pie.
Thank you.
Okay. Ooh, you're a brave girl. You. Okay. This is a good time for painting with a rag. Again, not erasing, painting. Just messing up and softening some of that green that I've done over the last several minutes. Just making it actually a little bit more painterly. And anytime I use my right hand too much, I start getting alarm bells going off inside my head. Wee, 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 danger, Will Robinson. Yeah, that's better. That's better. And I can actually okay, now this whole area down here, all of that is a problem. So way to go, Tyler. You're such a big girl. I'm sorry you hurt your scraped your elbow. Okay, let's make this a darker green again. Add a little bit of purple violet to it on purpose this time. And it's nah, that's too blue. Okay, don't panic. If anybody's gonna panic, let it be me. Okay, that was just a setup for this. There's some negative painting, taking painting off with a rag. By doing it this way, you see, I have such control. I can, with just a rub or two of the rag, I can decide how much to take off. It's a very, very controlled technique. Does that make sense? That actually worked quite well, I think. Okay, now let's, same brushes. I think the next thing I want to do actually is do some color breaks. Not changing the value of these areas very much, but changing the color. There's a streak right in there in the acrylics. That's underneath. That's all dry. That's just too green, too intense. So I'm just right there. I just added some burnt sienna or oxide red to that green paint to make it much duller, and just dulled that down. And that's better. That's better already. There's a streak here. The stem of that bush that's sticking out too much. Likewise, now all these trunks. Am I still in the picture? Barely. They're coming off as two red, orange, green. And not green. They're two red, orange. So I'm going purple. Two purple. Red, orange, purple. So I'm just, since I've got this green, I'm anti-purpling, anti-redding them. Something way up here. I know I'm way off way off now. Too purple up here. So this is just called anti-purple. That's all it is. I like the purple. I'm not obliterating it. I'm not getting all grumpy. I'm just pushing it back a little bit because it's just a little bit too much of it. I like that purplish stuff in my foliage, but I don't like that much of it. Anti-purpling a whole bunch right now. One thing leads to another, doesn't it? Okay, now. Let's see, without even cleaning my brushes, let's see what happens. I want you to be able to watch me mix a little bit right now. By the way, for what it's worth, if you haven't seen me before, I invented this system myself. I bought this easel, and of course there was just an empty shelf here. Well, I screwed and glued a couple of boards in here. There's one real thin, like 1/4 inch thick, 1/2 inch wide board, and then a piece of 1/4 round in front of it that hangs down. So there's a little notch underneath it, of course, that you can't see. Then I took this plein air easel and I just ran a bead of hot glue right along the edge so that I can stick that under there and it's secure, you see? If you lift it up, you can pull it out, but if the weight's going this way. So that was a pretty convenient little trick. Okay, so I've got this dull light green on my brushes right now. One of the things I want to try to capture was this sense of sun-spangled, sun-speckled, sun coming through these trees. Dappling, there's the word, that's what I'm looking for. Dappled sunlight, that's the official term, isn't it? Really want to try to capture that without getting all dotty, right? Easy to slip into dotification. Easy for me, anyway. There's going to be a sidewalk right along here where these people are walking on sidewalk in dappled sunlight, and another sidewalk down here again in sun and shade, some sun, some shade. Okay, I think I'm playing it pretty dangerous. I'm painting fast and loose, living on the wild side here. But I think I'm okay. So far, I'm going to mix up a cleaner, lighter green. Let's see how that looks. Again, this is for bits of sunlight hitting the green grass. I indicated some of this in the acrylic underpainting stage, of course, but needs much finishing. Now the challenge here that I'm sensing is this is not the star of the show. This is not the most important part of the painting. So I want this to end up being moderately subtle, messy, soft, because of course all of this up here is the star of the show. This is just a supporting cast down here. once again. Here we go for the third time in the last several minutes. Just take what's already there. Just push it back a little bit. Okay, and I don't know if that's going to work or not. I won't know until I start really trying to get these sidewalks. Again, the hard part here is keeping it subtle. I mean, trust me, I can paint sidewalks. I can paint the heck out of a sidewalk and some spangled grass. That's not the hard part. The hard part is rendering those things without selling your soul to the devil. without getting out your skinny little brush and start
rubbing the devil all in.
Yeah, exactly.
Rubs in, he gets so smushed up. And then when he gets smushed up, he gets rubbed in again and then smushed up again. And God, he doesn't get to do anything bad, but just to love us.
The color that I've got on my brushes right now is actually a very dull green, very dull. So I just want to start out with these sidewalks really subtle. Brown out that color a little bit, oxide red. You know, just dawned on me. It might help this painting if I don't even try to render these sidewalks as concrete, but let them be so soft they could be interpreted as sand, dirt, gravel, which in fact there are some of those on the property, I think, but it would not be, you know, unrealistic for there to be a gravel walkway on government property, right? Okay, let's keep that color. Go one tick lighter, brighter, whiter than that. I guess I'll continue. So again, one tick lighter and warmer. Yet again, a little yellow ochre and titanium white.
And this is purple.
And again, the titanium white that I use is alkyd. It's a fast dry titanium white, which saves my life. And that was a good day when I discovered that trick. 5, 6, 7 years ago, I don't remember. Titanium is terribly slow drying. If you want any impasto thick paint on your painting, it's going to be a light color, right? And that means it's got titanium white in it, probably. I remember when I was learning this lesson of painting, I had some impasto stuff in it. Literally sat in my studio for 6 weeks before it was dry enough to take in there. 6 weeks to dry. Phew. So I learned that lesson good. So all of my titanium white, almost always. I still have a tube of plain old-fashioned titanium in case I'm doing a different kind of painting, a different style, different approach, different style where I need slow drying. That's very rare. Most of the time I want fast dry. Let's get this painting out of here.
That's my last picture for today.
Oh, thanks, Lakey Poo. Beautiful.
All of those are my pictures.
Really? All from today?
Yeah, all of those are your pictures that I drew.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, and I gotta draw my name.
You gotta draw your name on it, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
can remember.
So I can remember who did it? Good idea.
This is hard to look at too. This kind of orange.
Is it? Is that hard to look at?
It's really light.
It is very bright. I like it.
Sometimes I forget my name. And I have to copy the other. Guys,
Lake is 5.
This is so little, man. I have 72 wheels.
Whoops. What did you say, Tolly? Did you find one?
Oh,
Did you find it? Oh,
there. Da da da.
Da da da. Good job. Okay, now for just a little bit of sparkle on these sidewalks.
All of these painting, all of these pictures right here are mine. All of these, even this one is mine.
Sparkle on sidewalks.
People.
People. Whoop. Let's zoom in. Let you watch me paint these people for a minute. Sun, of course. These figures are completely made up. I did not notice any, not pay attention to any people literally walking by. People did walk by all day, but I didn't look at them. So this is all based on rote, learning what the people look like, right?
Hey, Becca.
Yes.
I'm going to draw again, and let's turn on to this. Peter, may you do this for me?
Yes. It's kind of hard, isn't it? A little bit hard for 3-year-old fingers. 3-year-old needs to sharpen pencil.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm trying to draw on this picture. And it this keeps on doing that. Like, crane and all.
Okay, hang on just a second. No, yeah, hang on. Hang on. Hang on, don't touch it. Okay, now. Okay, working out. Okay, try it. Still working on sharpening a pencil for the 3-year-old. Whoops. This pencil might not work, Tolly. The lead keeps breaking. Okay, there you go.
I don't really want to do this picture. Thank you, Peter.
Hey, wait. Welcome. You don't want to do that picture?
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to do that.
Okay. Here's your page right here.
Couple of little white deer. That's and deer too. That's faces.
Yeah, you can erase it though. You can draw on it. That's a good one to draw on. Any color you want. Pick your color.
It's not working. I can erase it. See, when I do this, it's not working. Couple of
Oh my goodness.
pink.
These guys are making my Photoshop do some things it's never done before in their whole life.
What deal? The pink white deal. More deal. And normal paint. Today now and
Pardon me, folks, for just a minute. I don't have enough time here. Wow, you guys have done some fancy stuff.
deal. Oh, finally.
Okay.
And
These figures, like everything
it's a
else,
lot. I
are going to be
made
rendered
it's a lot. It's a lot.
piecemeal, step by step.
See me.
Just a minute, I can't look right now, sweetie pie. Oh, cool, very colorful. I like it. Okay, now girls, you're almost breaking the rules a little bit here for, so let me just work for a while, okay?
Okay. Oh, it's
Gonna leave them for a minute. Like, no, you let me work for a while. Now, let's go back to the green for a minute. I'm going to hang up on you guys for a while because I'm afraid I'm just in a very, too fastidious or too much detail, too fussy. This would be dreadfully boring to watch. So I might just paint for a while by myself and then bring you in later. So what I'm doing right now is mixing up some brighter yellow-green. Again, to try to give the impression of sun dappled. The sun is hitting the sidewalk and the grass both. Okay. Let me pause there and back out, let you see what I've done. And now that I've got this bright green on the grass, I see that my bushes can stand to have more brightness on them, which I'm glad to do. Typically I'll make it a slightly different color green, but for the moment I just want to put a little bit and see. Yeah. Okay, so break time. I'll be back in a little while. I need to do some serious painting without any company for just a little while. And I'll bring you back later. Thanks so much for watching. Hey gang, thanks for finishing this with me. I'm not quite done with the painting, even for the day, but my time is gone. So I thought, well, I'll bring you back in real quickly, just to throughout much of the painting, foreground, background, trees, everywhere. Just worked a little bit everywhere since my last broadcast, and made good progress. I'm pretty happy with the lamps. The way, let me see if you can zoom in and see those. Such as they are. Wait, looks to me like I need just a little bit more sparkle. So hang on, I'll do that while you're watching. Clean these brushes real quickly. Pick up some nearly white titanium, nearly white paint. A little bit of warmth in it. And let's do some sun, literal sparkle in this case, isn't it? Literal sun, bits of sun reflection. I use the term sparkle even when it's not sun per se shining, but there we go. That's better. And this, what I'm doing right now, is pretty typical of my late stages of any painting whatsoever. Just high highlights. If I can make up that term. And while I've got that, I think there's a bit over here at this bunting. I have the sun hitting the outer, this edge of it a little bit more than the rest of it. That's nice. I'm still quite happy with the appearance of this mid-tone wall here. I've added some orange to it, especially up here, reflection off that. Did quite a bit of work on the dome way up there at the top. Thank you, Donna. Hope you can watch it later. Interesting. A little longer than essentially everything green, just for fun. And the scratching, that's anytime I've been painting too fastidiously for too long, I give my artwork some kind of chaos, not representational. Still using the rag a little bit today in today's painting as well. Okay, I think I'm going to quit right there. Let me bring you out here to see the painting such as it is. I'm not finished, but I'm very close. It'll be next week now, because my wife and I leave for Memphis tomorrow for another wedding painting. I'm happy with how the painting is going, so I don't want to ruin it, if you will, by getting all anxious. I'm going to go get a little workout, play with my grandchildren for a while, pack up and go to bed. Oh, supper too. So thank you so much for watching. Again, next broadcast probably will be at the Pink Palace in Memphis, Tennessee on Saturday. So again, thanks for watching. If you like it, share it with some of your artist friends and encourage them to watch. Please leave comments, and I'll be excited to look at your chat comments when I get the chance. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.